Welcome, American truckers. Welcome to Trucking with Old Snapper. And I am Old Snapper. Anyway, if you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Do everything here trucking related. And we've got 5 reasons trucking companies lose drivers. Now, there's many reasons. All right, but one of 5 categories, probably top 5 reasons that trucking companies lose drivers. If you have a different 5 or you had something you want to add, please drop it down in the comments. You never know, trucking companies might see it, might give them some ideas how to get and retain drivers both, which is difficult, especially in today's environment. Well, let's jump off into this, and this is in no particular order, not from bad to worse, worse to bad. It's just throw it out there. 5 reasons. All right. Number one, unorganized. As a driver, y'all know, man, most of the time you can walk into an orientation, you can tell from day one whether the company is organized or not just by how they carry their orientation. And if they're unorganized, the first thing that a driver starts thinking is crap. Are they going to be organized when it comes to me getting loads? Are they going to be organized when it comes to getting my truck fixed? Is it going to be organized? Because if they're unorganized from day one, odds are they're probably going to be unorganized all the way through the organization. And that's a problem. It can hinder a driver from making money. And it tends to make us a little bit nervous. It doesn't set off on the right foot. And it's one reason that companies lose drivers being unorganized. Either having a disconnect in dispatch or something where drivers aren't getting loaded fast enough, they're setting too much. So it's messing up their paychecks. Their paychecks are not consistent. There's so many problems that come with a company being unorganized. And covers a broad spectrum. But when we see a company that is organized, it means a lot to us, and it actually makes us feel a little bit more comfortable. Now, it does come to a point when it's a little too organized, and we're going to get into that one here um, at number 4, so I'll save that for then. Number 2, lack of communication. How many times, and I'm sure there's a ton of drivers, probably every one of you listening, that have been through this scenario. You're late with a load, you got caught up in traffic, got stuck behind an accident, whatever. You're late with a load. Let's say it's going to Target Distribution Center or Walmart Distribution Center or wherever. A place that will not take loads late. Like at Walmart, you got that, 2 hour window, from 1 hour before to 1 hour after. But let's say you're outside that window, for 100% fact, you've been dealing with them for years, they're not going to take that load. If you're like me, I normally will call and let them know, hey, I'm running late. I'm outside the window. They're not going to take this load. The reason I do that is because I know that Walmart, Kroger, a lot of these big box store warehouses, they have appointment times and slots. So the sooner I let dispatch know that I'm running late, the sooner they can get, hey, okay, this driver's late. We need to reschedule this load. you know. But does that ever happen? Very, very rarely does that ever happen. Most of the time, this is what you're going to hear. Just go ahead and try to deliver it. Okay, I'm going to waste the hours to drive up there and try to deliver it. I'm going to get rejected, and I'm going to have to deal with probably somebody who's going to be a little bit mean about it at the gate when they turn me around. And then you're going to have to reschedule the load anyhow, and you're going to miss and probably get a later slot because now you're waiting, you're stalling out to reschedule this load. So now I'm going to end up waiting longer to deliver it. That's that lack of communication, or sometimes trucks going down, it's going in the shop or something like that, and dispatch is trying to give you a load. They don't realize your truck's going in the shop. You got all these. Communication is a big deal within trucking when it comes between a driver and the company. There has to be a solid line of communication. So if there's a lack of communication, it can really hinder a driver in making money, frustrates a driver, causes a lot of stress on a driver, just like it causes a lot of stress probably on office personnel or behind the walls people as we refer to them in the industry. And a lot of times the driver will end up leaving behind that because it gets to be too much. Number three, poor equipment. Poor equipment will run a driver off every time. Um, I was working for Celadon at one time. They're not around. They're out of business. And Celadon wasn't a real great company. And we all know that. Any of y'all out there ever worked for them, you know that. But they had some really poor equipment. I mean, really poor equipment. Um, I remember I picked up my truck. I went to orientation, picked up my truck, and I broke down before I ever got to the first load. I mean, it was horrible. I didn't stay there long. I was there probably less than 3 months. I didn't stay there long at all. Couldn't get going. Couldn't get in a rhythm. Just couldn't get it going. But Celadon was pretty bad. Celadon was also very unorganized. I called them the 2 day trucking company because every time you delivered, it was 2 days before you got another load. So it was cool getting to hang out a lot of places, but I'm not out here to hang out. Number four, micromanagement. Some companies are horrible about trying to micromanage a driver. There needs to be some organization. There needs to be all that kind of stuff. But drivers become drivers for certain reasons. One, we typically are antisocial. Um, we don't like nobody standing over our shoulder, and stuff like that. And when you try to micromanage us, it makes us feel like we don't know how to do our job. And that right there will push us away. It'll turn us off to a company. So that's where I was talking about on number one. Where being a little too organized can be a problem too. You get down to the point that you're micromanaging your drivers, they're probably not going to be happy, and they're probably not going to stay long. They're probably going to go elsewhere. Number five, false advertisement. I call this false advertisement. How many of us have seen a trucking company online advertise, "Hey, you can make 100,000 a year. You get there, you go to work for them. Cool, I can make a good living. They're not micromanaging. They got to be organized. Every all the pistons got to be firing in a line if I'm going to make 100,000 a year, right? You get there and then you realize from talking to other drivers that are already there, some that have been there a while, and looking at your own checks, that you're probably going to make about 60,000 a year, maybe 70 on the high end if you work really hard. Don't go home a lot, right? You got so much of that in this industry. False advertisements really not enforced. It's too easy for them to put it on the driver. I've seen companies out here that are training companies, and they'll say, "Well, you can make 100,000 a year." What they're really saying is their trainers are making 100,000 a year, maybe they're team drivers, but not their solo drivers. But they're not going to tell you that. They'll go with whatever the top paid driver is. That's what they're going to put on their website, right? So you got a lot of that. And drivers don't tend to stay at those companies very long. They get a lot of turnover. Drivers come in and come out. It's just best to be honest. Look, this is what we pay. If this will pay your bills and you're happy with this, then come on. If you're honest and upfront from the start, I already know what I'm getting into, right? So I come there with the expectation that, hey, this is what I'm getting into. This is what it's going to be like. But if you are falsifying what your company's like on your website or whatever, wherever I get that information from, or even through your recruiters, I'm probably not going to stay because I'm coming with the expectation of this is how it is, and then when I get there, it's not. It's something totally different. You basically you lied to me. Probably not going to stay. Probably not going to stay very long at all. So those are my top five reasons for why drivers don't stay at companies. I know there's a lot. There's a lot of reasons why drivers leave. Was having a conversation with a with someone at a company one time, someone that was well up in the company. This probably been about 2 years ago. And I told him most of keeping a driver is psychological because as drivers, A lot of times just want to feel important. We um, want to feel needed. We want to feel a part of the company. We don't want to feel like a number. We don't want to feel like meat in the seat. That's why a lot of drivers like small companies because they don't feel like they're just meat in the seat. Whereas like with the big mega carriers, that's the way a driver feels. And if a company can ever figure out the psychology of providing that, helping a driver to feel like part of the family and he's heard and listened to, he's not just meat in the seat, along with being organized, along with decent equipment, you'd have an all around better. You're going to have better driver retention. You're also going to recruit better drivers, which is going to help the company in the long run. Um, Poor equipment and unorganization or lack of communication. I've never understood companies having that because if it hurts me and I'm unable to make money, well then it's hurting the company too. Because if your truck's down, your truck's not in motion, you're not making money. Neither am I, neither are you. If I deliver a load and I'm waiting 2 days to get another load, your truck's out there idling somewhere. It's not making any money. Neither am I, neither am me, neither are you. So a lot of these things that affect the driver also affect the company. So I've never understood why some companies will let that stuff ride because they're hurting themselves in the process as well. But anyway, if you've got some things you'd like to add to it, drop it down in the comments. Air out all of your grievances down there. Let me know what your opinions are, and if some of these maybe you feel like some of these are not issues at companies that cause drivers to leave. Maybe you have some different opinions. I'd like to hear them or read them. Drop them down in the comments below. I appreciate all of y'all for stopping by. You could be anywhere else in the world right now, but you chose to hang out here with Old Snapper, and I sure appreciate you. Take care, stay safe. Remember, we are all family, even if we are a little bit dysfunctional, and keep trucking.